appreciate it.
Of course, very happy to be here. Very psyched that it worked out. I saw some of the episodes that you had done, and I saw you did like one with Ian from Militariegun and all these folks, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And I checked out the episode; it was great. And so I'm psyched to be here.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was another one that was such a whim of like I never tag people and I was just like I'm going to do it. That's my goal for 2026 to get Ian Shelton on. And when he responded, he was just like the kindest person too. So I was like,
Hmm.
thank you. Like now I love your band even more. And I know you guys have a podcast together too, so that's that little thing. So so cool. First question I ask everybody that comes on here is what is your first memory of falling in love with music? And maybe not necessarily like a band, but like just a moment with music in general.
Sure. My dad's worked in radio since before I was born, so music was always around. And I remember it would play in the car all the time. We just listened to the station. Part of it was him. He's the general manager and an on-air personality, and so he would be sort of auditing and making sure it's all good, but also wants to like he enjoys it. That's why he works in radio, of course. And I remember when I was pretty young, there was some songs that would be in rotation that I would be excited about that I would remember when they were coming back around. Like before All Star by Smash Mouth, they had a single called Walking on the Sun that was not as big, but it was getting radio play, and I was probably 4 or 5 at the time. I was really young. And uh I remember pointing it out and being like, oh, I remember this one from last time. I like this one. I want to hear this again. And so I think that was the first time that even my parents like clocked like, oh, he remembered one of the songs from the radio. And that I think was exciting for them because they're music people. My older siblings are music people. And so getting excited to hear songs when they came back around was really important to me. Yeah, I think Smash Mouth Walking on the Sun was the first time that I heard something that I remember being like, oh, I want to hear that again. Can we listen to that again? And it's like, well, in, tomorrow it might be back on the radio because we don't own the CD or the record at the time. But that was probably that's probably the most important one for me was when I got really into music as a child.
Oh, I love that. I don't think anyone's ever mentioned that. And like to me, too, being younger, like Smash Mouth Walking on the Sun was the music video, everything involved with that song was everywhere. And the
Hmm.
radio, it's so interesting because I remember that like they would do like the top nine at nine or whatever, like the big radio station back where I used to live in Chicago would always do it. And it's like, yeah, I would be wanna let me go listen to these songs because yeah, at the time I didn't have my parents had a record player, but like I was little. I wasn't going to the store actively at that point, but it was like, let me listen to this so I can hear whatever this is, whether it's Blink 182 or whatever it is. So that's really interesting. And I was reading too. I know Kane Hodder is another one, and I've never heard that in so long. Like I did street team work for Fueled by Ramen, and I remember that being like, okay, we had Paramore, we had Q's What We Aim For, all those bands, and you had a band like Kane Hodder. So when I heard you
Hmm.
mention that, I was like, I have not heard this name in I don't even know when.
Kane Hodder entering my life after being exposed to things like Green Day or Nirvana or whatever was I love Kane Hodder. I cannot underline right now how much I love Kane Hodder. Every person that I show this band to, it dislikes it or nothings it for the most part,
Yeah,
but I think it is fantastic. I love it. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to denigrate Kane Hodder on your show. I hope everyone listens to it and checks it out and they all become billionaires. But
yeah. That, but like again, like it's interesting. Like sometimes those bands that maybe some people didn't pay attention to or weren't exposed to for whatever reason, or they just went under the radar, how special they can be to someone. And I think that's really, really cool. And two, like with music, have you ever stopped to wonder, like with being your touring musician, you put out music and you create it. Have you ever stopped to wonder, like, why is it that I've dedicated my life to this? Like, this is what I do.
yes, this is a thing that I deal with all the time where I spend a lot of time reflecting, trying to like figure out what is the the locomotive that drives a person, but specifically this person.
Mhm.
And it's funny how music has been the through line this entire time, and I'm constantly trying to find things that are as exciting to me as music is. and I'm just not. I wish that I did. I probably could be more successful in another field that would be more a little bit linear instead of something like music, which is art, but it's also entertainment, so it's subjective, so it doesn't, input does not equal output. And I think that I had this conversation the other day, where it would have probably been very exciting if public opinion just exploded and we put out our first 12-inch and I sold out of it immediately, and then we were uh playing to 1,000 people a night now, and we were, going on tour with Saves the Day, whoever, like a huge band, and it would be very exciting. But I think part of me also sort of likes that it's like super difficult to succeed. I like that it is constantly trying really hard. In a way that, like, I don't know if you remember, if you ever played like The Sims as a kid, but like when you put in the cheat codes, I don't want to play anymore because I'm like, well, it's too now it's not hard. Now there's no challenge here. I no longer wish to play. So the fact that it is it's the carrot on the stick thing where I can get closer, but the carrot's going to keep moving away from me because it's attached to me, and the perpetual moving of a goalpost is probably really bad for my mental health and for my general well-being, but is also in a runaway the best part of it. I feel like there's always an opportunity to get better. There's always an opportunity to be more creative, to try new things, to on the entertainment side for more people to hear it, to sell more records, to play to more people, whatever that is. But then there's also just the creative, like me in my house writing music. Like I'm clearly getting better at this. And that is pretty exciting to me. And I think that's very motivating in a way that if I wanted to become a chef or something, I don't know if I would constantly have these benchmarks of me trying to get better and then succeeding or failing, depending on which way we're going. Or if I wanted to manage a coffee house, like
Hmm.
it's the fact that it is, I get knocked down and then pick myself back up and then get little successes and then failures and then little success and little failures constantly is probably bad for me, but it is also the reason that I love it a lot, a lot, a lot.
Yeah, like I had a guest on, I think it was last week, and they were talking about something similar, like they're where they used to be afraid to fail at it, and now that they're doing it, they viewed it as like the mountain. Like they have to climb this mountain, and they're like, if I got to the mountain and then the top quicker, like really quick, where I didn't have to maybe stop, reassess, or go through XYZ to get there, maybe I wouldn't appreciate it as much and not see that like, hey, maybe I felt like I failed, but I really like succeeded in this or what I learned here. And I'm like, that's such an interesting thing because I can relate to that. Even doing this, there's so many little things that I'm like, yeah, maybe I didn't hit this point, but I still was creating, I still was doing this. And that's what matters is that I still took that next step up the mountain.
I really, really like that point of view, and it's it reminds me there's a Modest Mouse lyric that I think about all the time about how they have the mountain but we have the view, or it's
Hmm.
we have the mountain but they have the view, where it's like metaphorically you see a mountain, you go, it's a beautiful mountain, but then you're also in the back of your mind thinking, I wonder what everything looks like from up there,
Hmm.
and trials and tribulations, and then you get up there, but now you can no longer see how beautiful the mountain was because you're on the mountain, you're seeing everything else around it. And I wish I wish in general everybody was less hard on themselves, and maybe that's me speaking about myself in a third person, but I think if I was less critical of myself and like the failures, this is another conversation I had the other day where all of the successes, as far as I'm concerned, for like public opinion are public opinion successes, but then all of the failures are Kevin's. And that's kind of silly, but that is the way that I've always felt about it, where like we will win, but then I will lose, which I think is pretty harmful, brain speaking ways, but it is, it is part of it. You don't learn lessons from succeeding, you learn lessons from failing, so the failing is important, possibly more important than succeeding, where I'm
Yeah.
sitting.
No, I can definitely, and that's even myself. I've looked back on anything I've done, and I learned the most when I had to fail. Even this podcast, I've had to like start it over. The first run I did, it was the awful. I'm like, no one can hear it. It's gone. But it's one of those things of like, man, did I learn so much about myself and what I needed to do in order to be where I wanted to be. So it's like in anything I do, I think too, like we learn so much more, even when we don't think of it. Because then you're in the thick of it and you are failing or whatever you think that is. You don't feel that way all the time, but like later you can look back. So I love that you were open about that because I think so many of us sometimes don't realize that. And part of my show is too how songwriting is a catharsis and for your mental health and where you can process emotions. And in another interview, you were talking about these songs. Sometimes you really had to go there and carve out parts of yourself. Why is it, do you think, music and songwriting allows you that space that maybe something else or another outlet wouldn't, but for whatever reason, creating music lets you go there?
Music for myself, at least, I think it is a proper representation of the whole person in a way that no matter what I am to other people in my life, in like my personal life outside of the band, my relationship with those people colors the experience more than being like the whole person. Where my relationship with a coworker, I might just be like, the guy at work that is constantly drinking too much coffee or whatever, and like that's our relationship, but that's not all that Kevin is. It's my relationship with my mother-in-law is like we are pretty close. My wife and I obviously get along super well with her, but that is still not the whole person. Even with family, like that's not the whole person for the most part. And expressing the self without having to have like, hey, we need to talk about all of my feelings, like, oh, in a one-on-one conversation, because that can be dicey.
Hmm.
Maybe it goes well, maybe it doesn't, maybe the person's not in a place to receive that sort of information. Um, Me just documenting things and expressing the way that I feel through art, and in my case it's music, but I'm sure authors and painters and anybody else feel this way, is a proper expression of the whole self, even if sometimes that can damage the way that you're viewed by other people. Not in like I'm not gonna like the coworker, for example. I'm not gonna like write a song about how I hate my coworker. Like I don't, obviously, if you're listening to this, but like might write something that's gonna be pretty expressive in a way that they're gonna be like, oh, Kevin put out that like pretty negative feelings out to the entire world to
Hmm.
be exposed to. And I think that that's still more important than like keeping up a guise of, you know, some vague positive fake version of myself, in case the people that know me through one lens see me as the whole person through, in this case, music.
Yeah, because I could see that too. I've often asked that to people if they were ever nervous or worried that sometimes in music, like they really went there in a place to where somebody from the outside, people close to them would, they get that text or call like, "Are you okay? You doing good?" When really sometimes, that's your place to express it. But I've often wondered that because the way people perceive things right now is like it's so different than maybe how you put it out and what you were feeling. So I always like was always wondering about that.
Yeah, I mean it's very scary, I guess, but like, I've gotten the reps of putting out art that makes me uncomfortable for the entire world to consume for like a long time. What now, like this is our second LP, which isn't like a lot of music, and we've put out singles, but like previous projects and all the stuff that I've ever done where I've been like pretty expressive, where, it's being honest about the self. And I've wondered about this where like let's do something huge because it's gonna make it easier. My Chemical Romance.
Hmm.
Like I don't know how big they were when Three Cheers came out, but I'm sure the fellow's name is Gerard, is I believe is the singer. I'm
Yeah,
sure he had just like worked with somebody that heard the "I'm Not Okay" song and that was just like, "Hey, dude, are you good? Like, what's going
right.
on?" So, you know, like I don't. I'm sure that given the opportunity, if all of a sudden like my sad songs are playing on the radio in my job and somebody hears them and like looks at the lyrics might be like, "Oh, hey, Keva, what's going on?" Like, and
Yeah.
there's gonna be a back and forth about it. But I don't know, like expression I think is important. And I think, you also don't have to. Like I know plenty of people that will hear a state of the world thing and they will say, okay, this is how I feel about it, and I'm not going to tell anyone at all because they're very private people. And I think
Hmm.
that I would like to imagine myself as a private person with an outlet. So maybe I'm not just, I'm not tweeting about everything. I'm not, going on Instagram live and letting it all hang loose, but I am putting out records, and part of the putting out records is being true to self. Unless it's not. Maybe, maybe on my next record I'm going to do a Kesha thing, and like it's going to not be the Kevin experience at all, and then I'm going to sell a gazillion copies, and I was foolish for trying to be
Yeah.
authentic the whole time.
I
You know.
to like it is nice to have an outlet because you're right. The minute like if I didn't have this or a certain outlet, I would be that person tweeting everything. Like when I look back, God, if like any memories show up, like whether it's I never go on Facebook because I'm just over that. But if you do any of that and they show you like a memory, I'm like, what was I doing? I was tweeting or putting out any little thought I had about every single thing. Why was I doing that? Like I needed an outlet back then. I needed something because I'm like, oh God, I'm so cringe. I can't believe this. And obviously too, like this last Friday, the 7th, you put out this wonderful new record. It is so good. And it's not just because you're sitting here. It's one of those records that on Friday, I put like my new Music Friday post and like I had all the records. And I had some people that are like, okay, I trust you. I've never heard a public opinion. I want to listen to this. I'm like, go do it. They're like, all right, this is perfect. And the response I got was so positive, where they were like, this is so awesome. I can't believe I've never heard of this. This is everything. I know too, you've talked about obviously like there's a pressure that comes with LP2, right? And so
Mhm.
for you, like hearing or whether it's a review or anything that's coming in from the positive reviews, hearing things like that, like how does that make you feel?
I mean, it's who doesn't love praise?
Hmm.
Everybody loves praise. I love
Yeah.
to be told I did a good job, whether that's at work or making dinner tonight or a record that I spent a year of my life on. It's lovely to hear positive feedback at all times. What comes with that though is there is an awful lot of pressure that goes into, this the second record. I think this is us at the phrase I've been using is terminal velocity. I think it's not gonna get more public opinion than this. Like I obviously, because we work in like a futury environment where, because guitar music takes a year to put out, I now have songs for the next record done. But I think that this is a perfect encapsulation of what the band is. And so the fear with that is that if someone doesn't like this, then they're just not going to like my band. My band's not going to do anything probably to appeal to you down the line. And that's maybe short sighted of me, and that's maybe unfair to me. But there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. However, I will say more so than anything else up to this point that I've done creatively, we've gotten more of that, where we're getting like nice press kind of everywhere. There hasn't been like, damn, this band sucks yet. Like
Hmm.
I'm sure that's on the way, because like long enough timeline, someone's gonna have a problem with my record.
Yeah.
And but thankfully, it has all been very positive, and that has been very exciting to hear and very exciting to be exposed to. That people are hearing it for the first time and are liking it and are sticking around, and maybe they'll come see us on a tour, maybe they'll save us on Spotify, so when these new songs that I've already written come out, they will then be able to consume that as well. It's just it's again the movie, because like if I looked at my phone right now and I pulled up like the streaming numbers or whatever, if I saw that 2 years ago, my brain would have exploded.
Hmm.
But because I was there for every step between 2 years ago and today, it's not holy smokes. It's like, okay, well, this was a work in progress, and now we're seeing the effect of that. What do we do next? What do we do next? And the answer is go play a million shows and go write the next record, because that's what a band does. That's what Kevin does.
So how do you also like, because it is the release, it's almost a week of that, like Friday, it'll be the full week of it out. How do you like mental health wise almost deal with that and kind of be like, okay, You know what? Because we are in the industry with like the numbers and the comments, like you're saying, like if there is a negative one down the line, like because I've always wondered that because it's easy when you are getting the praise, like same here. If you're getting praise, it's like that's great. But when you get something negative, it's everyone says, "Oh, I don't read the comments." I'm like, I read the comments on my stuff. I've seen things all the time about myself. So how do you deal with that?
The I mean, I do read the comments, but this is one of the things that I don't talk about to anybody. I'll talk to my wife Miranda, or I'll text Ian and be like, "Here's a
Yeah.
bad review we got," or whatever.
Hmm.
Just there's a handful of people that receive fully unhinged Kevin.
Yeah.
I don't need to tweet like something mean to a staff writer. That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But we there's a lot. The hope only is like I'm not thrilled in and of itself that like website X gave us 8 out of 10. That's exciting to me, I guess. And I'm like, that's okay. But the hope is that their 10,000 subscribers saw it and then it gave them a reason to check it out.
Hmm.
And that's the hope just there in itself. When it started, it would be exciting for me to have like guy in cool band or gal in cool band liked a song and told me about it. That was always like, whoa, but now when it's just explicitly writers from and so we're clear, I need to understand. I appreciate everyone that has thought about it in any capacity and listened in any capacity, especially if you put the work into writing it or hosting a podcast where we talk about it or
Hmm.
any of these things. I am unbelievably appreciative of that. But if I don't accept Kerrang's like 4 out of 5 as like hunky dory, I then can protect myself from the 1 out of 5 from whatever publication because I will be less hurt by it because I'm insulating myself. And I don't know. I wish we weren't in such a review culture of everything, but I also understand that that is what drives people that have never heard of your band to your band or your art to your art or whatever is that someone else has to say something either positive or negative in order for someone to see it and then, oh, I'll check that out.
Yeah, I guess I never thought of that way because I used to hate like when I did like a music blog and they were like, we're going to do reviews. I'm like, I don't want to do a review because I don't want to one either be biased or I also don't want to like torch someone's work because I'm not a musician. I don't know what it takes to even write a song and do that. I'm like, who am I to give credentials and give them say it was a 2 out of 5 or a 3 out of 5 to me. And so I steered away, but I guess I never thought of it. Sometimes even the negative reviews can fuel someone to be like, hey, let me go check that out. Why is this a 3 out of 5 instead of a 4 or 5 out of 5? So I think that's really interesting to think about and kind of changes my scope because I used to get mad at people when they would give my favorite record like a 2 out of 5 or something. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? You don't know this band. You don't get this. And again, why was I so angry at some writer doing that? But in reality, maybe someone would see that and instead of getting angry, they would say, let me go check that out. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, I think I'm sure that there's a million of these, but there's a famously like a Childish Gambino record from the mid 2000s, maybe the beginning of the 2010s, that got 1.6 on Pitchfork.
Hmm.
Got crushed out of 10, 1.6. And he has gone on record and saying, "Oh, that made my career." Like everybody going, "How does it suck this bad?" Oh, it doesn't suck this bad. It's actually kind of good. But so, like it's the fear. This is how I feel about like movies too. Like if any movie gets like a 3 star, I don't need to see it because I've seen a million of those. If it gets 1 star, that's awful and I'll watch it. If it gets 5, that's tremendous, I'll watch it.
Hmm.
But for like just fine, just fine, I think is worse than bad in my opinion. Because like had like no notes at all is like, well, we didn't even give you anything to consider. Whereas like you could hear my band and say, okay, he's trying to be Blink-182 and he sucks or whatever.
Hmm.
Someone's gonna go, oh, sucky Blink-182, and they'll hear it and they go, okay, well, no, like super not. That's an inaccurate representation, but it still is something. Whereas you just went, this record is totally okay. 3 send. And like, no, okay, I scrolled past it because I didn't even clock that it was there's no pertinent information in the writing. Um I really, really wish there was a way for everybody to be exposed to the things that they may or may not like without the bias of it. But unfortunately, like you said, you had this new music roundup for release day, and
Yeah.
I'm sure there was 29 records on there. There was a million
Man.
new songs that came out. And so in order to get anyone's attention at all, we have to go through these channels and you have to do this, that, the other to get in front of people. And so if what we're currently sitting at is a review culture to get eyes on the art being created, well, that's okay. Worse things will happen to me today than a 3 out of 5 review on a website. That's it's fine.
Yeah, and I do. I think that does shift. I'm like, man, younger me was just always so full of angst of like mad at any writer or anything. And it's like, again, what was I doing? I don't know why. As if I was the band. Like, I don't know. I feel like I always have to just if I love music or a band, I have to almost like feel like that defender of their music. And it's like again, like everybody is different. Everybody views the art differently and how they do it. So I think that's really unique. And obviously, like this record, one thing I love is we are in such that singles world where everybody, and again, I get it, I understand it's how it is, but this is such a record from the start to finish, the bookends. It got me. And one song that like sticks out, Lucky Me, and specifically the part where it's like, all my fault, it's all my fault. And the way that's saying, it just like, again, in my headphones in that moment, I'm like, it's almost like, I would be that meme with, I don't know, the rain or something and like say something like went really wrong in my life. I'm like, that's what I hear in my head. So was like creating a record really important to you to give that person of like, hey, I want you to sit down and listen to this and find those songs on like, the maybe second from the bottom or something instead of just going from the singles.
Yeah, I think creating a whole record is the way that I create music, and I think it might there's a world that this is making my life harder. I'm going to be
Yeah.
honest. I think if I was just writing pop singles and like we're going, it might be going better for me. But I really into like sequencing, very important for me. Album feeling like a full unit is very important to me. Where and I don't think there's anything wrong with people that write music 2.5 minutes at a time, but like I wanted it to be the 24 minute, like here's Public Opinion, here's 24 minutes. It's not that long. Please take a look, see at it.
Yeah.
And we've got up and we've got down, and then here's a song with the piano, and then there's still the climax at the end. And I think the record is best consumed as a whole instead of just doing the singles. Now, there's if you want to do singles, there's probably 3 or 4 songs that if you just wanted to check it out and give it 2.5 minutes and see if you like it or not.
Hmm.
I have a couple of those. But with the except like I wanted the first single, which is Balloon Man Running, it's the first track on the record. It's pretty big. It's pogo up and down. It's videos you see videos like Franz Ferdinand playing from like the 2000s, and there's just a sea of people all
Yeah.
pogoing and they're all like singing, but it's the guitar part that they're singing. They're not singing the words yet because the words aren't there. That was the intention, was like, hey, I want this giant thing at the beginning of the record so everybody kind of knows what it is. And then I want the last song on the record to feel like the finale. There's a band from New York called Crime and Stereo that was a band that Brett Roms, who did our record, actually plays drums in now, that I really kind of look up to. I think that they are maybe the unsung heroes of that kind of music. Everything post 2005 Long Island stuff until like Coil came out. That was like kind of they were just like the band doing the Long Island sound in a real cool way. Silent Majority influenced all the stuff
Yeah.
that inspired Take Back Sunday or whatever for the folks at home. And their whole thing was that the last song on the record always felt like the last song on the record. Like you could start the last song and oh, this is the end. This feels like
Yeah.
not triumphant because that sounds like a silly. It's not Lord of the Rings, but
Yeah.
like it is like, oh, this is the climax of the song. And then you check on your iPod or whatever. You're like, oh, yeah, this is in fact the last song on the record.
Yeah.
And I always strived for that specifically. Like, oh, we're making a new record. I at some point need to sneak in a final song in here that feels huge. And then I also need to have a first song on here that feels huge. And everything else in the middle is going to connect A to B.
Hmm.
And I think if you spend the 24 minutes on headphones or driving your car or listening on your turntable in your house, you will get that experience.
Oh, 100%. And that's like, as me, I'm someone where I'll tell someone about a favorite record and I'm like, I really like this song. And maybe it's like, I don't know, the seventh song down or something. And someone's like, I haven't heard of that one. What's that one? I've heard this one. I'm like, okay, I know. I know I'm like we're in that world again where you just click. But that's what got me on this record right away was that I could sit and put it on. And I didn't want to skip a song. I wanted to just listen to that full experience. And you definitely did with this one. And you mentioned working with Brett Rams, like which again, I know he's amazing what he does at Barbershop, but I'm a big I Am the Avalanche fan, everything of that. So even him that and doing that. But what about working with Brett and at the Barbershop Studios for this record? What do you think he brought to the table to help you get to this point of where you were really satisfied with this record that maybe if you weren't with him, you wouldn't have gotten there?
That's a very interesting question. I like that question a lot. The main thing with Brett is there's a level of workflow that we've never done before where everything is set up at all times. So we will play the song and then in real time he can go, okay, we're going to change that part and then we're going to add this and we're going to have to fix something here or whatever, whatever the edits might be. And we're going to be able to produce in real time in a way that I'd never experienced before. Normally is piece by piece as opposed to us all performing at once. And so that was very different. In addition to it, not in like a groovy camp counselor way, but he stayed at the studio and then we stayed like across the street. And it was in January in New Jersey, so like the lake is frozen over. We're not going outside. We are
Yeah.
just gonna be either sleeping or we're gonna be working. And that made it kind of a kinship among the four of us that made the record, where even if it's even if there's an NFL playoff game on and someone's watching that or whatever, it still felt like, hey, like I need you to, like it's work time, like you need to come, like we need to get ears and eyes on this part that we're trying out or whatever. And it was all working together towards a common goal of making the record really awesome. He also had a lot of really big ideas that I would have been scared of earlier on, where just big production ideas. Let's get a fourth vocal on there. Let's add another guitar lead. Maybe we're doing percussion. Just all of the stuff that like I would have been nervous about people thinking something negative about my band because I was trying too much stuff
Mhm.
in a way that since that he was very like, I think we should really try it this way, and if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work, and that's fine. But like he cultivated an environment where we could try, and we could fail, and we failed a lot, but we were able to try. And as a result, the record is a lot better. A lot of like, okay, what else does it need? What else does it need? No, I know that we've added that, but like, what else does it need? And changing things and changing vocal melodies. And I think he's a genius. I was excited to work with him because I really love Avalanche United, and he did the Avalanche United record, and he did I think every Avalanche record since then. And then I didn't even know that he did like these. Didn't know he did Hot Mulligan. I didn't know that he
Yeah.
did Free Throw. Like these gigantic bands. I had no idea. I just was like, oh, it's the guy from Avalanche. I'm excited to do it.
Yeah.
And then he's there's a reason that these gigantic bands go and make records with him. Also, they're correct. They it's not like he was the only one available. It's they're choosing to because he's just so locked in. He's unbelievable. He's a
Uh,
genius as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah, like I had was it June? In June, I talked to Michael Rowe of Daisy Head and they did
Mm-hmm.
it at Barbershop as well and working with Brett and he shared like the same sentiment like when you think about the bands he's worked with like Hot Mulligan, Free Throw. I mean it just goes on of those and now you're one of them as well and I think it's really really interesting to see like again someone like I know through like just the music and oh I like their music but they're really also talented here and kind of like almost seeing those things probably as yourself as the band and what you guys can create like to help you get there it sounds like and having you try new things and I think it was yesterday I was talking to Travis of Piebald on here and he was talking all about how when they were working and what he learned themselves as a band is sometimes taking critiques and how he used to not always take those critiques and took them so personally from people, but then realized hey, this little like suggestion or critique or whatever you want to call it helped us get here and get somewhere and almost learning that. So I thought that was really cool and interesting.
Absolutely. And quick aside, I love Piebald. Piebald,
Oh,
man, if you're listening to this, please listen to my record. Um,
yes.
I love Piebald. Where but this is kind of ties back to like the critical thing early on, where every success is public opinions and every failure is mine. So like every time Kevin, I think we got to change these drums. I think these drums aren't doing it. Or Kevin, your vocal melody here like kind of stinks. I think we should change it. I would get like really upset. There was a point when I was pretty firmly in the camp of I don't want my record to be good. I want my record to be mine. I think that that's more important than it being good, successful, whatever. But learning that you can marry the two things and you're able to make concessions without letting somebody take over your life. Like there was a lot of suggestions that came in that I was like, great guys, I heard it. That's not making it. I'm really sorry. Like
Hmm.
it's we delete you can delete that part now because that's not going to make it because that is so not what the song is.
Yeah.
Is and not something insane, but it'll just be like that's a counter melody that runs on top of the vocals, but the vocals are better than your counter melodies, so we're killing just things like that. And it takes, I think there's a world where creative people probably are a little bit sensitive of that. And that's the same reason that we all read the comments, the same, all of this stuff where like, I don't know if I was playing in the NFL, if I would feel that way, if I was reading every comment online about me. Um, but it is hard to, spend a lot of time and energy on something and then have somebody just come in and just be like, nope,
Hmm.
thumbs down. That's not, and like that feels sucky. And I understand that that feels sucky. I agree that that feels sucky, but at some point there can be a forest from the trees situation where like I'm so married to the original idea that I don't know that this part of the original idea sucks. And
Hmm.
sometimes the part of the original idea sucks really bad. So
Yeah. And that's hard. I can imagine. Yeah, that's hard to admit too sometimes that maybe that original idea just wasn't it sucks. I don't want to even use that word, but like and I think even in anyone creative, sometimes it's hard to admit that maybe you weren't right about something or this wasn't going to work. So I can only imagine that. And again, I have to because you are here, and again talking, I am the Avalanche and bringing them up. You have Vinny Caruana on here. On
Mhm.
the re-record of Modern Convenience, which is again, he fits so perfect. Like listening to the original one and then going back and now the one part that he's on, he just fits so perfectly in that. And I know you've said before that you're like a super fan of Vinny Caruana, and same. Anything that man touches, I just adore him in the most like non, I guess, parasocial way. I don't even know him, but love what he creates. So, like, how was that getting to get him on here for the re-record?
that was very exciting for me. We the plan was go back a couple years. I wanted him to sing on our first LP, and we were talking about it when we were recording it with Ian and with Taylor Young in Los Angeles. And during that session, I saw the news come that him, and then Daryl Palumbo from Glassjaw are both on the Koyo record that is being
Mm-hmm.
released in like 2 months. And I was like, well, we can't ask him to do it now. And so I just kind of put it on the back burner and let it sit for a while, and then circled back a couple years later. And Brett obviously knows him through Avalanche and Movie Life and just being, in being a guy for 20 years. And then Mike Dubin, who manages Public Opinion, put out the first Movie Life record. And so he's also known Vin for 25 years. And we got the opportunity to just like, hey, like I think this is going to work out where maybe we can line it up. And Vin is actually in a new band also called Night Sports that we got to go see in New Jersey. One of the nights that we weren't recording, we had an off day, and so we went to New Jersey to go see Night Sports play, and then came back and recorded more. But with it's like him and then Brian Audley from Incendiary, and the band is so good. Please, if you're listening to
Oh.
this, consider checking it out. They've only got two songs on mine, so it's like 5 minutes of your time. Unbelievably good band. Go check it
Mm-hmm.
out. And so I got to see him play, and then I met him ever so briefly at the show because I already knew Brian from Incendiary, and I already knew Justin Weatherholtz, who is plays bass in the band, and I know Chris Todd plays drums in the band. So I knew some of them, so it wasn't weird for me to just like fan out on one guy.
Yeah.
Um, and so we got to talk a bit there, and then I got to see him. Avalanche played here with Menzingers a month or two after we got home from recording, and so I got to go say what's up to him and hang out with Brett for a while, and he was very, very awesome to spend time with and say hey to. And he came and saw us when we played Brooklyn, and he came and sang his parts, which is cool. Brett Roms actually plays drums on that song on the record, so it's all like a full Avalanche Public Opinion mashup thing. Um, he was gonna do it at the show, and then I think something came up where he had to like he was occupied, so he couldn't make it to the gig.
Yeah.
But Vin still came and still sang the track, and it is bizarre. It's a thing that I try to like be mindful of, where a lot of cool things are happening to me. Normally, and this is gonna maybe sound silly, but like all of these bands, for the most part, become successful like right out of high school, right out of college. Whereas I'm like an adult with like a real job, and I'm married, and I'm like in my 30s. And
Hmm.
so it is weird to like, hey man, you mean a lot to me, to like another grown man. But like
Hmm.
it is a thing that keeps happening now. And I try to be mind because I could be like snooty and be, whatever about, but like the guy from Avalanche and Movie Life singing on my record and the guy from Avalanche and Movie Life producing my record is crazy. That's
Hmm.
so exciting. And 15-year-old me would be psyched.
Yeah.
Mid 30s Kevin, very psyched. Trying to be appreciative of it when these things do happen. Like Walter Schreifels, who's well, I'm really getting off topic here. Sorry.
You're
Walter
good. You're good.
Schreifels, Walter is in Quicksand, Rival Schools, Youth of Today, Gorilla Biscuits,
Yeah.
Warzone, all these bands. Came to see us in New York and thought we were awesome, and now we're playing 2 shows here with
Hmm.
Quicksand and Bane in a couple weeks. That's insane. That's unbelievable. Child Kevin would be freaking out right now.
Yeah.
Adult Kevin is freaking out right now, and trying to because it's not easy to like breach like the hey, can we get a photo going, because like this is going to be something I want to remember.
Yeah.
We're both adults, but like can is that okay? And like doing things like that is like kind of difficult, but also I think it's more important for me to have the memory of the thing than it is for me to not feel uncomfortable for 1.5 seconds doing the thumbs up, doing a photo pose.
I
I
tell people all the time, it's those moments like that are life affirming, like having that of like, man, younger me and older current me would be so stoked. And I think like whenever I have those moments too, it's like that almost push of like, man, like you're really doing it. No matter whatever number says, no matter whatever this, you're doing it. And how cool is that?
It's absolutely so cool. Do you mind if I ask you a question?
Yeah,
Flip
sure.
it on its head.
Yeah.
Is there a guest that you have done that you were like, holy smokes, I can't believe I got this person? And then is there a guest that you really would like to that you haven't been able to, but you still would like to?
Oh my God. Yeah. So there's the number one. I mean, well, there was Ian was one of those because I thought that was so unattainable. But the number one, I was like, holy shit, when I was across from them, had to be Ned Russin of Title Fight.
Oh, cool.
Just because I never thought I would get that. And so when I just took a whim and was like, I'm going to email, what's the worst? They can say no, they can not respond. Immediately got back to me and was like, all right, let's do this. I still didn't think it was going to happen. Yeah, he's sitting across from me. I'm still like, it's not happening. It's not like this isn't real life that he's across from me and giving me these really insightful answers. And I'm like, what do I say to that? Like, what can I even say what he just said? I don't even know. And a guest, there's two guests I would love one day. Jeremy Bolm of Touche Amore. I respect,
Cool.
love everything he does. And then honestly, Jeff Rickley of Thursday as well. Like just that formative, like I used to live in the Midwest and I always wanted to be in Jersey because of like all those basement shows, all that cool stuff. And then here I am in Jersey. So it's really cool. And he is a guy I'm like, yeah, I would just not hang it up, but I would be like, all right, you did that. Like that's really cool.
Those are great answers. I just got to, I did Jeremy's show recently, and that was very exciting for me to also be like, oh, dude from cool band that I like. I got to like we got to have conversations about music that we like and all this kind of commonality, which is very cool. Jeff is seems like the nicest guy in the world. again, Mike Dubin, who manages Public Opinion, knows everybody on the planet, it
Yeah.
seems, at all times. And so every time somebody comes up, he's just like, "Oh yeah, me and him went and got hot dogs at this," and I'm just like, "Of course, you and this guy from this band that supports me went and got hot dogs or whatever." Um, I, I mean, do you think that those? I'm just going to keep interviewing you if that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's cool.
Do you think because there's obviously there's many episodes of the show up to this
Hmm.
point. Do you think that you're probably getting to the point where like these things, let's say Jeremy emails you back or Jeff emails you back,
Yeah.
where you'd be able to, do you think you are ready for those? Like, do you think you've built up the interview skills? Do you think you've built up everything that goes into being a podcaster that you'd be? I'm having a lovely time. You're doing an unbelievable job here, of course.
Oh, thank you.
But like, do you think that you're ready for those opportunities? I'm
I
going with opportunities.
I think now, today, now, if you were to ask me even a year ago or so, year and a half ago, would I be? No. And I'm like, I'll be honest. I'm like, no, I always tell people don't scroll till whatever episode. Don't go back. Cause that was like learning. I'm like, please do not go back to that. Like, don't. And times when people subscribe, they're like, oh, I went all the way to this. I'm like, don't start there. That was like almost 2.5 years ago. I do not know what I was doing. Do not go back. But then it's cool if they listen to that and they're like, oh, that was really cool. I enjoyed that. And I checked out that band. I'm like, all right, well, that's a win. But I think now, and honestly, not to bring it back to like Ian Shelton, but like having him on, I think January, that really tested me because I had like a day's notice. And normally I'm like, when I get a guest, I'm like, I'm listening to all the interviews, watching them, go, what can I read on them? What can I do? And I only had a day. And I was just like, okay, just figure this out. How do you want this to look? And I think that really taught me like how to prepare better and just also like shut up and listen of like do that. Don't always be quick to maybe like what's the next question? No, like listen to what they say. So I think that one in January really taught me so much of like how do I want to interview? What do I want it to sound like? I want it to be a conversation, not just like here's the next question. So I'd say like that absolutely, I think I'd be ready. So if they're listening, we're ready.
We're ready for you over here. Come on over. I I feel that way about public opinion in a way where like if I go back 2 years and I can be grouchy that we didn't get the big tour with, Death Cab for Cutie, huge band, first band I thought of. I don't know. We obviously were not in the mix for a Death Cab for Cutie tour,
Sure.
but I can go back and I can feel like, man, we really missed an opportunity here. But I also think that a lot of the opportunities public opinion wasn't ready for. I think that at this point we're actually like a band that's, if you put us in front of a lot of people, we could be a good band and we could present as a good band and a real band and make people like it. The first time that I sort of felt that way, we opened for Alkaline Trio last fall, and that was like, oh, there's an actual 1,000 people here. They're not here to see my band, but they're gonna have to bear witness to my band because Trio's playing right after us.
Yeah.
And I remember that going pretty well. And I went, okay, the band's ready to be a band now. We've played a couple hundred shows at this point, but we're still figuring it out. And I think that was the point where I was like, okay, I'm ready for like whatever positive heads our way, right? Where like I put out a new record that means a lot to me, and I'm, if this many people listen to like maybe an old record that I wasn't so proud of, maybe I would feel shy about that.
Hmm.
But now I'm like, oh no, this is welcoming. This is, come take a look at what I do. This is what I do at its peak form. Please check it out. And I think that being honest about things like that is scary, and it can feel like you're because I also don't want to like be self-deprecating or anything like that. Because like you're going back and you're going to your old interviews and you're not denigrating yourself for like what you were doing at the time. You just didn't have the reps in quite yet as much as you
Hmm.
do now.
Right.
Applying universally here, applying across oh, is like reps are important, and then like the opportunities will come when the opportunities are supposed to come.
Hmm.
If we got asked to go on tour with Blink 182 2 years ago, we might have done it and it might have been okay, but it could have also burned us because we weren't ready to be a band yet.
I think
And I think,
that's really important thing. That's really important. I think for anyone listening, that's really important to recognize that sometimes you're bummed when you don't get something, or you think you deserve something at that time, and maybe you don't get it. But I don't know. I always believe the universe has you, and when you are truly ready, you will get those, even if it's not at the time you want it.
yeah, you know, especially folks in creative fields, I'm sure all of us want it now. I think that,
Hmm.
whenever anybody starts anything, they think that they should be the Beatles, they should be, yeah, Jay-Z, whoever, like they should be right away because that's the goal. The goal is not to be the first of four on a tour playing to a couple hundred people right after doors. That's not the goal. The goal is to be Green Day.
Hmm.
And it's important to remind yourself there are steps between here and there, and that those steps are important, and that's the work. The reason that you're not number one on the billboard right now is because you're not ready to be number one on the billboard. The reason that you're not headlining Lollapalooza now is you're not ready to headline Lollapalooza. And I don't know if this applies universally, but I know that it does apply to me. So like we didn't get a big tour that I was excited about that we're hoping to do in the beginning of the year, this coming year. And I felt super deflated and defeated. And then, the more you think about it, the more you go, okay, well, that's okay. We weren't ready for it. We'll get it when it's time for us to get it. And that's fine. You want to one foot in front of the other is the only way that we're going to make it happen.
Hmm.
It's the only way that we're going to grow. You got to just keep putting in the work.
Yeah. And it's hard to hear that sometimes. I know people, especially we live in a world where they're like, oh, especially if it's content or even a podcast front where they're like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And it's like, no, you have to put in the work. And there's so many times people are like, why don't you get so and so? Or why didn't you, try and do this? I'm like, I did. But you know what? For whatever reason, like, I'm not there yet. And the more I've accepted that in creating and what I'm doing here, the better it's been. Like, talk about mental health, talk about that of just like, not ready yet. It's cool. It's fine. Like, I don't need to sit there and dwell on it. What am I going to do? Dwell on it and then be like, and then miss out on, but I have all these other great conversations. Why am I bummed about that? I have all these other great things in my life. So I think that shift is really important. And I know I've kept you a little longer than I wanted to, but the last question I want to ask you is, on this record, what do you think is the most important thing you've learned about yourself as a songwriter, um, while putting out LP2?
Thing I've learned about myself as a songwriter. Um, that's very funny. I'm gonna quote Crime in Stereo, a final song, and it's the idea that my way has only got to work for me. Um, the way that I do it is different than probably it's not crazy dissimilar, but I'm sure it's parts of it are dissimilar to any of the guests we've had on your show up to this point. I'm sure in some way, whether it's and I'm not like we're all different from each other. It's not that I'm not standing alone,
Yeah.
but it's that the way that me writing music specifically for public opinion is pretty herky jerky and pretty awkward, and it can be cumbersome, and it's not efficient, and it could be catchier and poppier, and it could be, we could be on tour with All Time Low or something, but it's not. And that's okay. And I write records the way that I write records, and those records become public opinion records right now. And that's what it's supposed to be. I could make concessions along the way. I could start rapping. I don't know. I don't have any plans to start rapping. I could become a DJ. I have no interest in that. I have no obligation towards that. I'm going to just do it the way that I'm going to keep doing it because that's what works for me. And if people want to come along for the ride, you're more than welcome. And if people aren't interested in that and they don't think my band is good and they want to leave a mean comment online, you're more than, do for yourself. Do whatever you wish to do. That's totally okay. But I'm probably going to keep doing these things the way that I want to keep doing these things. And that's all that I can do.
Oh, well, again, this record is so good. Like again, not just because you're across from me when I was looking forward to it on the 7th because I'm like, oh man, Citizen and this. Okay. All right. And then Initiate was out too. I was like, all right, this is a
Mhm.
big day. Which one do I start with? What do I sit with? But I think I know, at least for me and people, like I said, that have never heard of your band, they were into it. And I think that's really cool. The amount of maybe people that have never heard of you are now having the ability to get to know you. And like you said, you have shows coming up with Quicksand. You have Sparta, like that as well. Like it's wild. And I can't wait to see what's next for your band. And again, I enjoyed you coming on here. This was so cool for me to get you on here, and I appreciate you taking the time.
This was amazing. I hope that we get to do it again sometime. This was lovely.
Oh, of course. Yeah, anytime. I always feel like that's always the biggest compliment is when anyone ever wants to come back. It's when you're like, okay, I didn't suck today. I didn't suck today. I did a good job. This is great.
No, this was amazing. I hope that the fire alarm in my apartment building doesn't get picked up too much. But besides that, I had an unbelievable time.